Patricia Gras. Welcome to Passion Time. I'm here with film director from India. His name is Anuj Gulati. I hope I got that right.
That's correct, yeah.
And Anuj is a very young and talented filmmaker. He's here for the Literary Short Film Festival in Houston. And your film won first place.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with your film, but I'll let you talk about it. But first I want to ask you, what is your passion and how are you living your passion?
What is my passion? Okay, I mean, I don't know what else I'd do if I wasn't making films. I mean,
Really?
yeah. So, but how it actually happened in life is also very coincidental because I was living in Singapore. I did my undergrad. I was an engineering student. I was working in a bank, but I was always, kind of carrying a tripod to work. I was doing learning on my own, doing short films with friends, and it was a blessing that New York University opened a grad film program in Singapore. So actually, they opened in '07, and it was 2008 when they had an open house, and I just visited, and I really liked the atmosphere they had. There were these students from all over the world there taking a risk, being in Singapore, trying to make films, and so I thought, it's worth a shot. So I put in my application, wrote some stuff, and 3 months later I was having an interview with them. And that was the only school I got in, and that's the only school I applied, and it was there while I was living and working in Singapore. And when it happened, it was an opportunity I couldn't let go.
So you were working in something else in Singapore as
Yeah.
an engineer?
As an engineer turned banker.
Oh, wow. And then you decide, I'm going to go to school
Yeah.
for film.
I mean, I always wanted to do film. It was a part of my life. I was the guy in a group of friends who was always
With a
carrying,
camera.
yeah, with a camera. But I just didn't know how to pursue it as a career at that point. And of course, even when I went to film school, I was very raw because that's what school is for, discovering your point of view. And after failing over the first year and a half, you finally make a film that you're like, okay, this is me. I loved every bit of making this film. From writing to being in production to editing this film to finding the right music for it, and that's when you know, okay, this is what I want to keep doing.
That's what we call being in the zone,
Yeah.
right? You're in the zone.
Yeah.
In all this time, was that your moment of truth where you realize this is it? Your aha moment?
I think that moment comes when you make a film that you really enjoyed and people like it. So that happened actually with my second year project. So as part of my second year curriculum, you do one film in the entire year. Like you're doing 3 to 4 films in your first year and you're failing and you're just getting out of your system. And then you spend the next year writing one script. And we were in Singapore, so we used to actually travel outside. So I went to the Philippines, spent my summer, wrote a script, came back and I decided, I want to make a film in the Philippines. It was just a great place to be and I'd lived there for 3 months now. And so I wrote a script based on my experience there and made it, took a crew of 6 to 7 people. We were in a van for 6 days shooting around the city and came back, edited the film and then sent it to festivals. So it premiered at Clermont-Ferrand, which is actually one of the biggest festivals for shorts, and I attended. That was 2012. Got a really good response. Like people really loved the film, and so that's when you're like,
That's your moment
Yeah.
of truth.
Yeah.
This is it. This is my thing.
yeah, and you want to keep doing it. So
You do commercials, and you're well known for your commercials, and also music videos and shorts. Why not a big feature film yet?
I mean, it's in the pipeline. Yes, it's taken longer than I expected to actually get to material that I'm happy with. But writing a good 120 pages is tough,
Very
you know,
tough.
and that's
It's
something
very
that I have learned over the last year because I finished this film Feb 2016 and it's mid 2017 now. So I've pretty much dedicated all my free time since then to writing something in the feature format, and I get closer every month. But every time I'm finding a new direction for the project, I have so much respect for just writing a feature film.
Sure.
It's just a
It's a
humongous
challenge.
task. Yeah.
The Manliest Man is your film, the winner. I want to know. I want you to tell me first of all what it's about, and then we'll talk about the importance of what you brought to the screen.
So the film is an ironic comedy for me, although there are some really sensitive scenes in the film, because it's about a village where every family is trying to have boys, And if a man has more than one daughter, if he has a second daughter, he is publicly declared a weak man. And at this point, the village calls for another male volunteer to come and impregnate his wife so that they can have a son in the family. And this man must be 6 feet tall and must have had two sons in the past. So that's kind of a fictional premise that I created because it's the irony of the situation and the protagonist of the film, which is the chief, who is you know propagating this practice, but he becomes a victim of the practice himself, which is what is kind of the irony of life, and that's what drew me to what I was working with at that point. And once you have that on paper, you know that you want to wake up every day and go out and make this film, and it excites you. So that's a good place to be in, but it takes a while to get there. So
Well, in the film, though, the serious part is that the baby girl is killed by
yes,
the mother.
there's a scene. Yeah.
So that's very powerful, and and this is an issue that almost every major society is dealing with, which is femicide and the killing of baby girls. Why did you feel that was important to bring on? You told me that you had done a documentary.
So how the germ of the film started was 2 years before I actually started writing the script. I took a tour to remote villages in South India. I got access to it through a man who was running a child welfare center down south, and he got me some very, secluded access to villagers who were willing to talk about the issue. So it was always the neighbor who was talking about the family that is still propagating this practice. But yes, it's reducing, and it's very hush-hush. So I came back from that trip with a lot of interviews and statistics on what was going on. But then I put it aside, and then but that's where the germ came from. It was something that became close to my heart at that point. And when I started writing the script, I knew that I didn't want to make it heavy-handed. I didn't want it to be a melodramatic journey of a female protagonist who is going through this in her life, although that was how the drafts evolved.
Right.
So but that's where it all began. And yeah.
Do you, so it's partly based on a true story, on true stories?
I would say the fact that female infanticide occurs is true. Yes, it's reducing, and it's being.
What about the man?
No.
The Manly Man. That was your
Yeah,
creative.
that's completely fictional.
Okay. Well, that was very interesting. I would like to know. I really enjoyed the photography in your film, the irony in your film, the times where you leave some space for people, just kind of, especially when she's drowning the baby, of just for people to just kind of take it in without any. So my question to you is, what were some of the favorite films as you were growing up, and why?
Well, I mean, your favorite films keep changing. As I was growing up, I got into watching films a little late. It was actually when I left home for my undergrad in Singapore. That's when I actually started watching a lot of films. And you always start with, what is coming. There is commercial Hollywood cinema, and then you start branching out. And then, like right now, what I really enjoy watching is, Coen Brothers. Buñuel is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just
I know, he's wonderful.
yeah. So it's even there's a French director. He's made one of my all-time favorites is a film called Playtime by Jacques Tati. So just
I'm sorry.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
I mean, for me, the magic comes from restricting yourself to a certain, in a certain way, in a certain location, and using the elements within there to, really play with. And I love playing with the elements that you have decided are going to be a part of your story. So
Sure.
that's.
The beauty in you being from India. Now, Bollywood is bigger than Hollywood as far as the production of films. And so there's a tremendous film industry in India that most Americans particularly don't know a lot about. But I think the interesting thing about you is that you've kind of, I don't know if this comes from school, you kind of use a little bit of that in your film with the dance and the music.
Yeah.
So are there advantages of being sort of even though you didn't live in the U.S., I think you were studied in a U.S. University, being bicultural to be a filmmaker?
I think it's a very good space to be in. And I am lucky to actually have studied outside, and my decision to be back home and tap onto stories that are yet to be told back home is something that really excites me. There's yeah, that's why I actually moved back, and I believe there is a lot more to explore, and my ideal mission would be to bring these stories outside, because Bollywood
world
is
to
big.
see,
Yeah,
yes.
because Bollywood is big. Bollywood has a huge industry, and that said, independent cinema is really picking up. People are open to new forms of stories and content,
Yes,
and
yes.
even the internet's made a big difference. Netflix coming there has
absolutely.
made a big difference.
Absolutely.
People have access to these films
Yes.
that were lying around. Even Indian independent cinema that haven't gotten releases are now being put on Netflix, and you get to
Yes.
see these films. And so it's a really good time to be back home, I
Yes,
would say.
yes. Well, my favorite film is The Three Idiots.
It's a good.
Which
I
is
mean,
an
it's a
Indian film.
yeah, yeah. It's a
One of my
completely
many.
yeah.
But,
It's
you
it
know,
gets you emotionally,
Yes,
Yeah.
most people don't know that. I lived in Paris for a while, and Paris has the largest number of theaters in the world, and they have films from all over the world. So when I started seeing that possibility, it just opened up a new world. And like you said, now Americans do have access to that through the internet. So
Yeah.
that's lovely. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Anuj Gulati,
Thank you.
and congratulations on
Thank
your
you so
film. And I
much.
hope you keep making many, many more and come back to Houston to visit us.
Definitely. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Passion Time.
Cambia tu vida. Cambia tu vida. Cambia tu vida. Yo sé que